Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Friday. It is May 10th. It is 2024. We have a 12-game MLB slate to talk about here on today's podcast. You know it's Friday. You know that means I got my buddy Will Priester, ChiefJustice06. Chief, what's happening, my friend?
Nothing much, man. Doing good. Glad to come on a Friday. I was telling you before the show, man. I am a little tired today. I don't know why, but just a little lethargic. But this gonna be a good show, folks. Don't you worry. Once we get rolling and get into the thick of it, I think the yawns will go away, or maybe they continue. But either way, the content will not let up. Glad to come on. I had a rough Thursday, Stevie. Thursday was just awful. I just feel like I just didn't get anything right. The only thing I got right was Pablo Lopez, I think, in terms of the prop game. I mean, Sonny Gray didn't have a good day. Logan Gilbert had an awful day. The prop streets for me Thursday were rough, which means Friday, today, is going to be spectacular. So definitely ready to dive in. So last thing, Stevie, and I feel like have such a long opener for this pod. Almost got the showdown hit for NBA yesterday. OG Anunoby got hurt, and that just tanked it. But for a minute, Stevie, I mean, I was hovering top 5, like with a solo shipper and pretty much everything. And in fact, I think I might have gotten like top 2 or 3 at one point, but I ended up not finishing that high. But man, was I close. Would have been a nice little pace. So hopefully we can parlay that into some good MLB hits, GPP wins on Friday.
I bet. So I took the day off in DFS for baseball. I didn't even do the morning grind yesterday. I needed a day. You get super busy and you don't ever want to like get that like burnt out feeling. And I've been there many times. So I take the days when I can. And like with a 3-game slate, I was just like, I'm going to take the day. I bet 4 things, and so far so good. I had Cleveland basketball plus 13.5. They won. They covered that. No issues there. I have PJ Washington over 5.5 rebounds, Derek Lively over points and rebounds, and I took the Brewers over 3.5 runs against Sonny Gray at plus money, and they had that in the second inning. So fun stuff, man.
So you're the reason my Sonny Gray stairs went down into the toilet.
Listen,
all right, I'll take it.
Don't mess with my Brewers. All right, I'm a full on Brewers fan now, and I was like, 3.5 runs at plus money. Even if like Sonny Gray pitches really good, I still get the bullpen. I'll take it. And hey, it worked out early. Did not expect for it to happen in the second inning for what it's worth. What's up, YouTube? Hope you're having a fantastic Thursday night. Alan, Derek, Yeezy, I think that's everybody. Let's jump in. We got a lot to talk about. We get started here. Arizona at Baltimore. 8.5 total in this game. Baltimore is a minus 136 favorite. Brandon Fiat against Cole Irvin. And I will say, I did do some prep for the podcast last night, and like one of the reasons that like I was taking the day off, I was like, man, the only way to get different on this slate is stacking Brewers against the Cardinals. Maybe I should have played. Anyway, let's talk about Brandon Fiat here. Any interest in him in this spot?
No.
Yeah, I mean, really tough matchup, right? Like that at the end of the day, that's just what it is here. It is just a really tough matchup. And that's what you're worried about more than anything in this spot for Fiat. Like he has decent pitch counts. He has pitched into the 6th inning, 4 of his last 5 starts. He does a great job of generating ground balls. And he doesn't walk anybody, but he really struggles with lefties. They have a few power lefties in this lineup. Their righties are really good as well. It's just a really tough spot for Fiat. Cole Irvin, lefty against Arizona. Arizona has really struggled with right-handed pitching this season. Any interest here in Cole Irvin?
It's kind of the same boat to me as Brandon Fiat. I still think Arizona's a good team, man. And I think realistically, you add Eugenio Suarez to that lineup, who's going to give you a few more strikeouts, Stevie. Like the strikeout rate should have come up. They got a few younger guys playing, and I don't I don't think I'm going to play Cole Irvin today. I just think it's such a big slate. I'm just trying to be as selective as I can. I don't want to play fringe guys on a 12 gamer.
Yeah, I don't want to play Cole Irvin. Arizona, where they have really struggled against righties. I mean, they're the highest WRC plus against lefties. Their strikeout rate is one of the lowest in baseball, and they're hitting left-handed pitching with over a 300 average and an over a 375 WOBA. So, like, where they've struggled mightily with like righties, they have been fantastic against lefties. So I think this is a spot I want to stay away from Cole Irvin. We're going to play Cole Irvin plenty of times this year. I mean, we've used him multiple times already this year already. Let's talk about the bats here. Any interest in the Arizona bats?
Yeah, I do have some interest, Stevie. I like the ballpark. Obviously, Baltimore typically been a good ballpark for hitting, and we know they're going to deploy these righties. I'm assuming, Stevie, that Randall Grichuk is going to play today. He should be in the lineup. You'll get Gurriel, who's cheaper.
Jock will be out, and Grichuk go DH.
Yeah. So you're getting Gurriel, who's been good this year. Not Alexander. Carroll will probably bat at the bottom. Blaze Alexander will get some run. I'm sure you'll get Eugenio Suarez at 3,900, Stevie, in this spot. I think that's really cheap for him. He's one of my favorite plays today. You should get Christian Walker at 47. Like I think the Arizona offense, because they haven't maybe been as productive recently, we're getting them at really affordable prices. Where earlier this season, Stevie, half the team was $5K. So I really like this spot for them, and hopefully they can put some runs up down there in Baltimore.
Yeah, I have interest in Arizona. You get a cheap shortstop, whether it be Newman or Blaze Alexander. I prefer Blaze Alexander. He's been a lot better against left-handed pitching this season. Ketel Marte has been phenomenal against left-handed pitching. Gurriel has been fantastic. Suarez has been really good against left-handed pitching. Christian Walker, we know, has a ton of power. So I think Arizona is definitely a team you can stack today. Like Cole Irvin's not a bad pitcher. Like I just want to hammer that home one more time. Like Cole Irvin's not a gas can. He doesn't have a huge strikeout rate, but he does a great job limiting power, but he gives up a lot of hard contact. So it's just one of those spots where it could go either way. I like the Arizona stack side more than I like the Cole Irvin side. Any interest in the Baltimore bats here?
Yeah, like Baltimore as well. I think this could be a sneaky stat, Stevie, on such a big slate. I don't think a lot of people are just going to target Brandon Pfaadt, and so there's some of these guys are expensive. Like you get in Rutschman, you'll have or Hearn at 4,300, who's not expensive. Let me clear that up. You'll have Santander and Mullins. Like those would be two really good plays today. Mullins is showed some nice power this season anyway. Like him at 4,100. He's probably one of my favorite plays from this team for the price. So really like Baltimore. Definitely think they're a team you can get involved with.
Moving on, we got Minnesota at Toronto, 7.5 total in this game. Straight pick 'em game. It's like minus 110 against like minus 108. So straight pick 'em, like a real pick 'em. Joe Ryan against Yusei Kikuchi. Any interest here in Joe Ryan?
Man, Stevie, this is a tough one for me because he's so expensive today, or he's in the upper echelon of pitching, and he's been really good this season, Stevie. In my opinion, it's pitched really well, generally speaking. But Toronto, where the strikeouts going to come, like they've been, even though they might not be scoring runs when I need them to, Stevie, still not the worst strikeout matchup, or still haven't been a really bad strikeout matchup, a good strikeout matchup rather, for right-handed pitchers. So I can't get involved with Ryan today.
I actually kind of like him. Like you mentioned, the strikeouts are the concerning part, but Toronto is just a team that has really struggled this season, especially against right-handed pitching. And like Joe Ryan has a 30% K rate against right-handed hitters this season. So like where he kind of benefits is from facing this like very right-handed heavy offense that I mean likely only going to have Varsho and Kiermaier in there. I mean, guess potentially they could like have Biggio in there, but like Biggio adds strikeouts, Kiermaier adds strikeouts, Varsho actually adds strikeouts too. So like where you're going to get the attack here is going to be Joe Ryan attacking these righties with his 30% K rate. He has a huge whiff rate. He's really good against right-handed hitters. So I think Joe Ryan is very much in play today. I prefer Ranger Suarez. I just want to go out and like say that. Like we're going to talk about Ranger Suarez. I prefer Ranger Suarez. Ranger Suarez is my top pitcher on the slate today. So I just think Joe Ryan is an excellent tournament play on the other side of this game. We got Yusei Kikuchi. He's thrown at least 6 innings now in 5 straight starts. He has over 7 strikeouts in 3 of those 5 starts, and he's having a really strong start to the season. Any interest here in Mr. Yusei Kikuchi?
I think I have some Stevie at 9,600. You know, we're getting some upside for a little bit cheaper than the more expensive guys. There's a guy in the 8K range that I do like, or 8K range that I do like, and I think Kikuchi's viable for tournaments for sure. So that would be my read to take Kikuchi in tournaments only large field.
Yeah, I mean, they are still a very left-handed heavy team, so I think that you're going to kind of wait and see what we're looking at lineup-wise before we make a full decision on whether or not we're playing him or not. But I do think like there is some upside in this matchup. Minnesota is solid against left-handed pitching, but there's a lot of potential strikeouts in this lineup, depending on who's in there. So I do have interest in Kikuchi. I think he's a really interesting tournament play. And yeah, I mean, I definitely don't mind him in this spot. I prefer like Ryan on the other side of this game. I think I even prefer like Tanner Houch for a little bit cheaper. And then like I mentioned, I really like Ranger Suarez today. Any interest in the bats for Minnesota today?
I don't I don't mind like one offs, like for instance, like Jeffers, man, he's been smoking recently. He's 4,700 though, Steven. So if you want to play him, you're gonna have to play him. So there's that, and then you've got some of these other guys like Correa, who's back at 4K. I think that's really reasonable for him. I don't think I want to stack this team, Stevie, but I think Jefferson Correa are definitely 2 guys I'm interested
Um, yeah, I mean Jeffers. I think if why can't I think of his name? If Vasquez catches or one of those 2 like guys DH, like if Jeffers DHs and Vasquez catches, he's 2,500. And he's always been really solid against left-handed pitching. So don't mind Vasquez if he's in there. And then on the Toronto side, like I just don't have any interest whatsoever in the Toronto bats. Again, they've really been struggling. Joe Ryan's really good against righties. So yeah, I mean overall, no interest in my end here on Toronto. Do you have any interest in Toronto?
Yeah, I just didn't want to play Ryan more so because of um the strikeouts. I felt like they were going to suppress the strikeouts, but I definitely don't want to really load up on Toronto with all those righties they're going to see. So I don't intend to play them at all.
All right, moving on. We got Washington at Boston. This game has an 8.5 total. Boston is a 210 favorite in this one. We got Patrick Corbin going up against Tanner Houch. I mean, Patrick Corbin, anytime that like he is on the hill, it's always super interesting for bats. Patrick Corbin's not somebody that we typically play anymore, really. I mean, this guy has a 14.4% K rate, 213 ISO, and a 402 WOBA this season. So Patrick Corbin is always someone that, you could take shots on batting wise, but I don't think you're playing Patrick Corbin today.
Yeah, definitely not, man. Forget it. I don't care if he's facing Boston. And I know Boston's had some struggles, man, in the strikeout department, but come on. Are we ever going to play Patrick Corbin this season, Stevie? I don't think so. I don't plan to. I'm not playing him today.
Yeah, I don't. I don't think you can. I just don't think you can do it. Tanner Houch on the other side of this game, 9,100, a really fair price tag for a pitcher that seems to be taking the next step. Another guy that, he's thrown at least 6 innings in every start but one this year, and the one start he didn't, he threw 5 2/3, and just kind of got hit really hard in that game against the Angels. What are your thoughts here on Tanner Houch?
First of all, I think Derek's crazy, and he's being like being a fan anti-fan, saying he'll play cool versus the Cardinals. Don't do it, Derek. That'll be the one day they go for 20 runs. At any rate, Stevie, I must say, man, like as an Atlanta Braves fan, wholeheartedly, I am just so impressed with this Boston pitching staff. I mean, Stevie, they've been really, considering the circumstances, they've been fantastic. And Brian Bale isn't even playing. Like, imagine when he gets back and they can get him run. I mean, this is incredible, Stevie. So I like Tanner Houck at 9,100. I'm with you. I think this is a very fair price. I do typically shy away from pitchers against Washington, but I think he's got enough stuff. If he can if he has a good night in the WOBA department, Stevie, I think he can put up a really nice score here. And for this slate to be as big as it is, the pitching isn't as strong as it could be. So Tanner Houck is definitely making the list.
Yeah, you're a little concerned about strikeouts against this team. Their strikeout rates are low, but on this slate, like I could see him throwing like 7 or 8 really good innings, picking up like 4 to 6 strikeouts, and like scoring 25 plus, and I think that's enough. Yeah. So,
Stevie, if Joe Ryan was 9,100, I would have had a totally different tune on this slate, even against Toronto. Like Tanner Houck is the reason I'm having. You get, it's like the same situation, but we're getting a huge discount, and Houck's been about the same in my opinion. So I once again, I really like him today.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go bats here. Any interest in the Washington Bats?
Nah, man. Look, as much as and Washington has scored some runs this season, Stevie. So I'm not gonna say that they're exactly the same. Like last season, they just had no power, no runs, no strikeouts. This season they can't score runs, but on a big slate like this one, I don't see them lighting Houck up. So I'm gonna hold off on the Washington Bats today.
I like playing Jacob Young. If you need a cheap bat, that he's a guy when he gets on base, he'll run. And then like I don't mind Garcia at 3,600 typically, like another guy that will run. So I always look when I'm looking at Washington, I look at the guys that can get on base and run more than anything else, because they don't have a ton of power in this lineup outside of maybe like CJ Abrams. Winker has a little bit of pop finally again, but overall, I'm targeting stolen bases here when I'm playing Washington. The Boston side, typically I don't love playing Boston against left-handed pitching, but today's just a different story. Anytime that Patrick Corbin's going to be on the mound, I'm going to stack against him. O'Neill's really expensive, but okay, because the rest of the stack is somewhat cheap, because you don't necessarily want to pay 4,700 for Duran lefty. He has a 29 ISO against left-handed pitching this season. This is where you could play Wong really cheap. Cooper should start here for Boston. Your boy Vaughn Grisham from Atlanta, that was part of the Chris Sale deal. He's 2,800. And the Red Sox hit him 5th against Chris Sale the other night. So I assume that's kind of be the case here. So, I mean, O'Neill would be the staple. They hit Connor Wong 2nd the other night against Sale. Like, yeah, I mean, the top half of this lineup, Wong, O'Neill, Devers, Gresham, Cooper, Gonzalez. Yeah, I mean, I think the Red Sox are in a great spot. Anytime you're facing Corbin, you're in play for me.
Yeah. And Stevie, I mean, I'm with you. I'm not going to add anything other than I think Boston's a really, really good stack today. Like we attack Patrick Corbin every single slate. I don't care how bad or how good you think Boston is. You need to fire these guys up. You named all the guys I want to talk about, but for sure Grissom at 2,800 and Wong. Like Wong, I've been playing anyway, Stevie. Like just even as a one-off cheap catcher. So I'm for sure playing him today against Patrick Corbin. We may hear his game. We may hear a couple of these guys' names again before the show is out.
Biggest surprise of the year for Red Sox fans has been Connor Wong. He's hitting 350. He's hitting 350.
I think it's 354 to be exact, Stevie. And I looked at it the other day.
4 or 5 home runs. Like, just the biggest surprise has been. But, like, the reason that you stack against Corbin is he has a 213 ISO, 402 WOBA, 53% hard hits, and 14% Ks. So, like, we're not just saying, like, Corbin stinks. He doesn't miss bats. And when he does get hit, he gets hit hard, and he gives up a lot of line drives. So, that's why you're attacking Patrick Corbin. Because I don't necessarily think the Red Sox are great against left-handed pitching, but, I mean, you're just doing it here. So, Philadelphia at Miami, 7.5 total in this game. Phillies a 176 favorite. Ranger Suarez, Trevor Rogers. I kind of already confessed my love for Ranger Suarez, so I'll let you go first here. Any interest here in Mr. Suarez?
Yeah, love Ranger Suarez today, Stevie. I think this is a spot where not only has he pitched well this season, Stevie, but the strikeouts. The K rate has come up. Like, this is unbelievable. I mean, so kudos to him for just really, I mean, getting better. Like, I remember, I think he came in the league. We really started playing him when they gave him a real shot, Steve. I think it was either 2 or 3 years ago. And, I mean, he would be 6 and 7K every day. And last season he got 8K. And now this season he's 10K, but he's earned it, Steve. He's progressively gotten better, and today he gets a Miami Marlins team with, I mean, just hardly any power in this lineup. He should eat this team alive in Miami. Really good pitcher spot for him. I love Ranger Suarez today. You know, as much as I didn't want to pay for Ryan, I'll pay for every bit of Ranger Suarez in this spot, in this ballpark against this team.
Yeah, I mean, his changeup and his curveball are his 2 best out pitches, and they have just been phenomenal. Like, if you look at his run value by pitch type, they have just been excellent pitches for him. And he can generate outs when he needs to with the sinker, but his curveball has a 37% whiff rate and a 35.5% K rate this season on it. And his changeup, because he is a sinker ball pitcher, when you can tunnel a fastball sinker in the same tunnel as a changeup, and it gives it that extra little drop, and it comes out 5 to 7 miles an hour, typically slower than a fastball or sinker, it's just huge. When it's in that same tunnel, it's just going to generate swing and misses. And that's why his strikeout rate is up this year, is because his changeup and his curveball have just been excellent. And I mean, he's using it more. He's not throwing as many fastballs. He's using sinkers, and he's using his changeup and curveball more. So there's reasons why. Not he's had some good matchups too. He got to face Colorado, he got to face Pittsburgh, he got to face Cincinnati. He's had some good matchups, but hey, guess what? He gets another one today. Miami, not a great offense overall. This is a great spot to attack Ranger Suarez. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think he's the top pitcher on the slate today for me.
Yeah.
Other side of this game, we got Trevor Rogers. Really has gotten hit hard the last few starts. Oakland just absolutely smashed him last time out. Any interest here in Trevor Rogers?
No, I can't do it, man. He's going to sit on the shelf also. So Uh, I I really thought Trevor Rogers was going to be really good, Stevie, at some point, like progressively get better, not like Ranger, but like really become a solid pitcher, and he's regressing. So I'm not playing Trevor Rogers.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting to watch some of this stuff.
Yeah,
Injuries have a lot to do with stuff sometimes, but I mean, this is just a guy that like has the talent. We've seen
yeah,
it, but like he can't get righties out this year. 14% Ks, 370 WOBA, 49.5% hard hits, and like his swinging strike rate's under 10%. Like all of his numbers compared to like last year are just way down right now. And like maybe he gets it figured out, maybe he gets it going. But yeah, I mean, I think overall this is a spot that we're way more interested in the Philly bats. Like if this game was in Philadelphia, Philly would be one of my top stacks on the slate. The fact that this game's in Miami, there's no way the roof's going to be open. I'm going to tell you right now. I live in Central Florida, and it was 98 degrees today. There's no way in South Florida that the roof is going to be open tomorrow for this game. It's way too hot right now. So, I mean, what are we doing with the Phillies bats? Like Rogers has really struggled with righties, but like the ballpark isn't the most ideal thing, and like they're expensive because of like some of the matchups they've had recently.
yeah, absolutely, man. I feel like it's kind of similar to Corbin. Let's make this clear, folks. Trevor Rogers isn't Corbin, but I think we can take a shot on this Philly offense with Rogers' struggles. I'm willing to get a few shares in the stacks department. Um, Bryce Harper has been one of the hottest hitters in baseball over the stretch, Stevie, and I'm not afraid of lefty here. Still got Real Muto rolling. Obviously, they've got I need Nick Castellanos to just get better. Like show me the upside, Stevie. But he's still making good contact, still getting hits. Like I like the Phillies today. I think it's just more of a if Trevor Rogers is going to continue to stink, I want to continue to attack
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
him.
I think okay. At the end of the day, I think you can just kind of throw the ballpark out and just say, hey, I think they're going to hit him and they're going to hit him
Yeah,
hard and just play that. Like, yeah, ballparks matter, but Miami has one of the, I mean, they're like sixth, I think, in bullpen this year. So, like, you can attack the bullpen here. So, I like Philly. I think that Philly is really solid. We got a question here in chat about Sosa for cheap. Sosa has a 330 ISO against left-handed pitching this season. It's a small sample size. It's only 19 at bats, but for the price, and hopefully, like he gets moved up in the lineup here. But like 2,600, you can use him at shortstop or third base. Like I think Sosa is fine. Ball gonna fly in Miami. Ball doesn't fly in Miami. I mean, it doesn't that stadium. I've been to many games there. It just you would expect it to fly, but I mean, okay, it's not going to be like awful like Tampa. I've been to Tampa many
yeah. I was
times
about to
too,
say
and like
Tampa's probably
that
way
ballpark,
worse, but
it's just
still.
yeah, it's just not the same. The ball doesn't fly as well indoors. Because I mean, if the roof was open, Philadelphia would score 15 runs today because it's hot. Any interest here in the Miami bets?
Yeah. Negative.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't have a ton of interest here in Miami. He's a ground ball pitcher. He throws a lot of sinkers, like I mentioned, and he keeps hitters off balance with his changeup and curveball. I just don't see anything here that like screams I have to play this guy. They don't have like a massive fly ball hitter against sinkers and stuff. So yeah, I mean, one of the reasons that I think Ranger Suarez is so good today, just nothing here. Atlanta at New York facing the Mets. We got a 7.5 total in this one. Atlanta at 156 favorite. Charlie Morton, Jose Quintana. Any interest here in your boy Charlie Morton?
Man, Stevie. Charlie's just steady right now. I don't see the upside in this spot here. I just don't see it. 7,900. I can't play him. No upside.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
I think he's okay today. Okay. Like, one of the problems that, like, when I was researching this slate is, like, I don't really love a lot under 8K today.
Yeah.
And, like, we're going to talk about John Gray in Colorado going up against Colorado Rockies. Like, we're going to talk about him. But, like, really nothing else, like, jumping off the page to me. We'll talk about Robert Gasser when we get there. He's really cheap against St. Louis. And I've already kind of looked him up a little bit, so I'll be able to break him down when we get there. But, like, there's not a lot of options under 8K. And this game's in Citi Field. So, like, I could see Charlie Morton scoring 20 points here today. Do I think he scores 25? Probably not.
Ooh.
But I think I could see him scoring 20.
Dude, if you could sell me on Charlie Morton 20, I'm in.
No, I'm not trying to sell anybody. I just don't think there's a lot of options under 8K.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I could see Charlie Morton limiting the damage, right? Like, I could see him going out, getting 4 or 5 strikeouts, throwing 6 innings, and maybe giving up a run or two. And Atlanta should win this game. Jose Quintana's on the other side. So if Morton gets to 5, you're kind of baking in the 4 points for the win, right? So, getting the win is huge. I mean,
let me say this to you, Stevie. I don't ever want people to confuse my I don't want to call it disgrace, because it's really not a disgrace. Me not wanting to play Charlie Morton as, like, Charlie Morton being a bad pitcher. Like, I've seen Charlie Morton pitch a couple times, like in the Braves uniform, like in person. The guy can pitch. He's just not a DF. He's just not the same DFS pitcher. In real life, though, Stevie, like, he's legit. I actually think he's really good in real life. So, for what it's worth, you're probably right. I think you've sold me, Stevie. Once again, you're right. It's not a lot of options. 7,900. He's right on the fridge. Even if you got me 18 today, that's probably enough. I think I'm in. You've sold me. I was just thinking about the Mets strikeouts and how,
I just need him to have, like, I need him to score like 14 to 16 fantasy points and let the Braves offense score him 4 more, right? Like, at the end of the day, that's what I'm kind of hoping for. Like, he only has 2 wins this year, and his 2 wins, he scored 18 and 25. Like, if he picks up a win in any of these other starts, like, he didn't win against Cleveland and scored 24. So I just need him to get like 18 to 22. And I think I'd be happy with that today. Because I don't think we have a lot of options. A lot of bats on the slate. A lot of bats. And when we have a lot of bats, we're looking for cheap pitching. I mean, that's just how it works.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Hey, Jose Quintana is pitching on the other side of this game. You want to give me the old-fashioned quick no here?
No. That's
kind of, I knew that was coming. We didn't even talk about it pre-show. I just knew it was coming. We've worked together long enough. I have no interest in Quintana. I do have a lot of interest in the Braves bats today, and I'm hoping, because they're expensive and because this game's in Citi Field, that, like, they're not going to have a ton of ownership today. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I mean, I assume they're still going to get some ownership here, but Jose Quintana, man, low strikeouts, a lot of hard contact, and, like, the ground balls are there, but they're not necessarily going to keep up with, some of these stats that we're seeing from him this year.
Oh, listen, that's all you're going to hear tomorrow from me, Stevie. If the Braves don't come out and smack the Mets at Citi Field against Jose Quintana, I don't know what to tell you. I've been kind of waiting for a spot like this on the road against one of these bad pitchers, and Quintana definitely fits the bill. You talked about the Braves being expensive. I love it. Duvall's still pretty cheap. Klinic's still pretty cheap. And then, of course, we've got Arcia down here at 3,600. His price has come down quite a bit now that Albies is back playing every day. You know me, Steve. I always like to boost this up when the Braves get a really good lefty that they can knock around. Olsen, 5,400. People don't like lefty. They force themselves into all the righties. Listen, folks, Olsen's probably got just as good a chance as anyone to send this thing out of the park. Tons of power. I love this team, man. This is a great spot for the Braves. Love these guys. Don't forget DR Nog, a little bit of revenge, if you want to call it that. It's not actually revenge, but I just brought it up because I love the Braves so much today. It was a good spot for them. Really good spot.
Can I be that person that hopes that like Chadwick Trump starts today instead of Darno, just because he's 2.6K? We're trying to fit some of these cheap bats in, but yeah, I mean, I like the cheap Braves for sure. Like any of these cheap Braves that crack the lineup, like I think you're gonna have to kind of decide on like 2 expensive bats and then play 3 of the cheaper bats when you're stacking Atlanta, because this is where Gausser is going to be interesting. So, or Gasser.
Gone are the days we could get Ozuna for like 4,500. I mean, boy,
never gonna happen. There was a time last year that he was probably under 3K.
He was like 3,800, and they wouldn't bump his price up, Stevie. And I think he hit a home run. It felt like 5 days in a row. I don't think it was quite that many, but like for a week or two, he was going off, and he was still 3,800. Oh, what a time to be alive!
Any interest in the Mets bats here?
So here's the thing, man. If anybody's going to get to them, it's going to be these lefties. And I can't ignore DJ Stewart, Stevie. I know that's a guy we talk about on the show. And even Brandon Nimmo has been flashing some power this season. I think he's hit a handful of home runs over the past couple weeks. But Stewart at 3,300, man, he's on my short list of one-offs if I'm going to play some more.
Yeah, DJ Stewart, I think is always fine. Like he gives you that like cheap power, that cheap home run upside. Hate the ballpark in general. Nimmo is always someone I think you can take shots on. Cleveland at Chicago, taking on the White Sox, 7.5 total here. Guardians, a 120 favorite. Carlos Carrasco against Garrett Crochet. Any interest here in Carlos Carrasco?
Even against the White Sox, Stevie, I am not playing Carlos Carrasco today. They're getting a little better. They're getting better.
I think that's the right answer, though. Like, Carlos Carrasco is not good anymore. Like, he has a 17% strikeout rate, 11% walk rate, 227 ISO, 390 WOBA, 52% hard hits for Carlos Carrasco. Like, he's getting hit hard. He doesn't have a put-away pitch anymore. Like, Carlos Carrasco 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I don't remember when it was, but like it was like we're playing this guy in every start, and it's just he's not that guy anymore, and we see that from time to time. So I hope, because we don't have a lot of pitching today, Carlos Carrasco gets some ownership. I think it's a mistake. I don't think the White Sox are necessarily good, but I think it's a mistake to play Carrasco today. Garrett Crochet on the other side of this game. I mean, I love the talent. I really do. I'm a huge fan of Crochet's talent. Cleveland does not strike out a lot, even against like left-handed pitching. They don't strike out a lot. It's really tough, but like, I mean, there is upside when you're looking at them potentially leaving some of these lefties in there. Crochet's a fringe guy for me today. I think Crochet is a guy, like if you're running 150, he has a 32% K rate. Like he has one of the highest strikeout rates on the slate. So like if you're playing 150 today, you're like, hey, I probably should play a little bit of Garrett Crochet because of his strikeout ability.
Stevie, I couldn't have said it better myself. That was literally, Stevie, going to be my answer. You're getting a guy that has tremendous strikeout upside. He's 8,100, and it's a huge slate. If you're getting to 150, which I will be, I think you got to have some. Like, Stevie, we've seen it. Any low strikeout team can just have one of those days where nobody can hit a beach ball. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it in San Diego. We've seen it with Arizona. Every team, it's going to happen to every team. Even Houston, Stevie. I literally just saw Logan Gilbert, I think, pick up 8 or 9 strikeouts against Houston. Maybe it was 7, like just last week, and come out today and struggle against Minnesota. So my point is, it's going to happen to everyone at some point. Why can't that day be today on a huge slate? Garrett Crochet at home. White Sox are slightly improving game to game to game. 8,100. Tons of strikeout upside. I love it. For mass multi-entry.
Yeah, for what's funny with Garrett Crochet is like you're kind of hoping they pull him after 5. I don't think you want him to come back out in like the 6th or 7th. You kind of want him to throw like 75 to 80 pitches. Like I've watched him play. multiple times this year. I've watched him start, and like he runs out of gas. I mean, he comes out throwing 100, and he runs out of gas. After about 70 pitches, and like he starts to get hit really hard late in his starts, and like that's something a young pitcher will eventually get better at. Like he'll get better at like coming out throwing 96 instead of throwing 100 and like trying to last longer into games. I remember like Trevor Bauer was really good at that. Trevor Bauer was really good at like throwing like 92, 93, 94 and throwing as hard, like the hardest he threw in his like last like 15 pitches of the games. Randy Johnson was really good at that. So Crochet would get better with that. He will. Any Cleveland bats?
This is a tough spot for me, Steve, because while I like Crochet, I know that there's some upside with this offense if he gets knocked around. Like I think a Jose Ramirez one-off, like I'm in with that. I feel like David Fry, I'm almost positive he's going to crack the lineup today for sure at 3,900. Florio has just been dreadful, Stevie. Like, what in the world? Just, whew. Where is Stephen Kwan when you need him? I'm sure that's what they're saying. He's been the ultimate table setter. They went from that to Florio, who I think, if I'm not mistaken, was sitting around a 40-something% K rate. Outside of him, though, Stevie, it's not still pretty low strikeout. I think Fry and Fry on the cheap end, Ramirez on the top end, if I had to choose.
Yeah, I think like I don't know if they necessarily have the ceiling to win you a slate on a 12-game slate because I mean they do still lack power overall. So I think like you're potentially using them as like a mini stack. They're not my favorite mini stack today, but I think that's like where you would potentially play Cleveland is like a mini stack. Pinstripe says he finally caught the show live. What up? Thanks for hanging out with us live. That's why you got to turn on those notifications. Come hang out with us live. YouTube can ask us questions and we can answer them as we're going here. So, White Sox. This might be, as Blender likes to say it, the vomit stack of the slate. I really, it pains me to say it, but it really, really like Chicago White Sox as a mini stack. I would not full stack them, but as a mini stack, they're cheap. And I mean, not one of their hitters is over 4K. They have a lot of position eligibility. I kind of like them as a mini vomit stack. I think Grant used to call it garbage stack. Then vomit stack became what Blender used to call it on the morning grind when he used to hang out with me. So I think that's what you're looking at here for the White Sox today.
Stevie, I'm so glad we get this early. We're 6 games in. We're half the way there pretty much, Stevie. White Sox, all players under 4K. Now, we're not going to play, I don't think we're going to load up per se, but I'm going to load up enough, Stevie. Jimenez, 39. Pham, 38. Sheets, 34. Benintendi, 31. Stevie, I really like this team against Carlos Carrasco. I think, Stevie, where and to me, this is a linchpin stack, if you will. You want to pay up for pitching and get the Braves, you're going to need the 3K stack on the other side to help you get there. This is amazing, Stevie, for today's slate. Love the White Sox against good old Carlos Carrasco. I mean, I'm probably going 4 deep on the White Sox today. I don't think I get to 5, Stevie, but I think I get to 4. And it's a game changer to be able to get these guys at these prices. Yes, Nicky Lopez is viable too, Sean Walters. Just hope he scores 2 runs and you should be okay.
I will not be playing Nicky Lopez. I think that was a joke because I talk about how bad Nicky Lopez is all the time. Yeah, I mean, Bill, that's the problem, right? Like, we don't know if they necessarily have enough power, but we love the matchup. We love the fact that like Carrasco might get a little ownership, and we love the pricing. So the power comes from like Gavin Sheets, Tommy Pham, Jimenez, Paul DeJong. Like he strikes out a ton, but like he has pop.
He hit a dog the other day.
Yeah, like he's gonna strike out a ton. Benintendi, like Vaughn has been awful this year, and I really hope that he doesn't crack the lineup. because he's just been awful. I think he needs a day off here, but like they're just cheap. I prefer them more as like a 3-man stack. I could see playing them as 4-man stacks, like Will said, but like I'm using them like in some of these high end stacks that like I want to pay up for and need some cheap bats to still fit in a decent pitcher as an SP1. All right, St. Louis at Milwaukee, 8.5 total in this game. How bad is the Cardinals? This is how bad they are. They're a dog here with Lance Lynn against Robert Gausser making his major league debut. Milwaukee's a minus 134 favorite in this game. Let's start here with Lance Lynn. Too many lefties. I think that's the easy way to put it here. Like Lance Lynn, there's going to be spots that we play him throughout the year. Too many lefties in this lineup for me to have interest in him today.
Yeah, and Stevie, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's an every slate thing with Lance Lynn. Like it almost doesn't matter who the opponent is. Like you don't want to play him against this team. You don't want to play him against probably the Dodgers. You don't want to play him against San Francisco. Like teams that can just load the lefties up. You just want to avoid him. So I'm with you 100%. I like Lance Lynn as a pitcher in general, but I'm not playing him also. Which sucks because like we talked about all these games, but pitching is weak for a 12-game slate today.
Yeah. They didn't even entice us with the price though either, right? They're just like, hey, we're gonna make you 8,700. No one's gonna play you. Be done.
Yeah.
Any interest in Gasser on the other side here?
Well, I think good friend of the podcast, Derek, said we should be playing Gasser. So forget what my analysis is, Stevie. We're rolling with Derek. Robert Gasser's going to be throwing the gas, and I'm actually kidding though. I don't think I want to play Gasser today, Stevie. At 5K, this is a guy that on the surface things did not look good, and so look, man. Maybe the Cardinals are so bad that this could work out, but I don't think it does for what it's worth.
I like Gasser a lot today. He is a top 5 prospect in the Brewers organization, like second highest pitching prospect for them, for the Brewers. And like the Brewers typically turn out some really good pitching. So he developed a cutter in the offseason to add that like pitch finally. And it's really working out for him. Like he kind of needed that like pitch to attack right-handed hitters because like his slider is his best pitch. So like when he is facing like left-handed or right-handed or left-handed hitters, like he has a huge out pitch. Sliders, lefty sliders, just phenomenal, and that's his best pitch. So he's not like this hard thrower, like he's not a crochet, but he has a good sinker, good fastball. And when I was researching him, do you want to hear something incredible? No hitter last season hit an extra base hit off his sinker in AAA last year. No extra base hits off his sinker last year. So like that tells us he has really good spin. The fact that he's a good prospect tells us a lot. And the Cardinals just stink. Like, the other argument is like the Cardinals are 28th in WRC plus. They're hitting under 200 against left-handed pitching. Their ISO is 118. They don't strike out a ton, but I don't think we're necessarily playing Gasser for a lot of strikeouts. We're playing him because we expect the Brewers to get to Lance Lynn. So again, we want those 4 points. I think Gasser could come out in his debut, throw 5 quality innings. Going to probably give up a run or two, but I think that the possibility for him to get 15 to 18 points at 5K with the lack of pitching on the slate makes me really like him. And again, like the stats back up the Cardinals stinking. I'm not just saying they stink because they do. Like they're not stealing bases. They're not hitting left-handed pitching. Like, do you want to guess how many home runs the Cardinals have against left-handed pitching this season?
In my mind with Goldschmidt and Arenado, you feel like they had at least 5, but it's probably lower than that. I'm going to go 2.
It's 5.
Oh,
5
okay.
against.
But then, yeah.
2. They've had listen. They've had 370 plate appearances against lefties this year, and they have 5 home runs. Do the math, everybody. Do the math. Not very good. So I just think like this is just another one of those scenarios where it is a It is a major league debut. It is a young pitcher. He could
That's
get
all I'm
shelled
saying.
in this spot. But he's 5K. It's baked in a little bit. And again, the Cardinals just have not been good. They just haven't been good. There's no power. I think he relies a lot on the sinker in this spot. And if they leave these lefties in there, he has some strikeout ability with that slider. Like, that's his best pitch. So I like Gasser. I think he scores like a realistic number for me in my head is like 12 to like 16. And if he can get a win, it's higher. I think that's enough at 5K today. We talked about Atlanta. We're going to talk about other bats. We talked about Arizona. We talked about Baltimore. We talked about Boston. We need some value.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Gasser could be a punchline. You're not wrong. It could definitely happen. We know historically, and like the other thing that I even forgot to mention too is like with Contreras being out of the lineup, like he's their best hitter this year. That he's out of the lineup, like
hands down, he's been a best hitter, not even close.
Yeah, it's like so. Like Herrera is good, but he has a 225 WOBA against lefties this year. So yeah, I mean overall,
did he get hurt in a check swing?
Oh, it wasn't a check swing. He reached up and tried to catch a ball, and JD Martinez swung like a full-on swing and hit him like right above the wrist bone where there's no protection at all, and he was in instant pain. But I mean, yeah, like
we played baseball. We know, like,
yeah. The first thing you learn as a catcher is don't reach. I mean, that's the first thing you learn. And you just hate to see it because Contreras is having a great year, and he knows that like that was his mistake. But like on the other side, he's like, man, that it just sucks. So,
yeah.
Any interest in the Cardinals bats here against the pitcher making his debut?
What if I told you I don't want to play the Cardinals either?
I tell you that's probably smart.
I don't want to play the Cardinals.
Look up the Cardinals on Plate IQ tomorrow, and it's just straight red.
Look,
straight red.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get with Kirkwood and see if we can actually come up with our own algorithm, Stevie, to actually spit out gutless rankings. The Cardinals would have to be at the top of the list this season for gutless.
Nobody's higher than San Diego. I will. San Diego is by far the highest.
Oh man!
Cardinals asked him to move toward the plate so he could steal some low pitches for strikes. Interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't watch the game live. I saw the play afterwards and like felt terrible for Contreras. As far as the Cardinals bats for me, they did call up Pedro Paez here. Pages, don't know. I mean, I haven't watched to see how they pronounce it yet, but they did call him up. He's more of a defensive catcher, like stolen bases. He's going to limit those. He has a good arm. He's 2K. Sign me up. Punt catcher 2K instantly in. I don't have a ton of interest in St. Louis. If I'm playing them, it'd be like a mini stack or like a 4-man stack and just saying, hey, Gasser is getting gassed today. There's your punchline. Milwaukee on the other side of this game, love the Brewers. I'm going to keep playing them. Every single slate they're on, I'm going to have at least some exposure to them. Lance Lynn's a good pitcher. He struggles a lot more with lefties. This lineup is like now Yelich is back too.
Oh, yeah.
There's just too many good bats in this lineup right now. And they steal bases. Like it's just a phenomenal spot for St. Louis.
Yeah, man. I'm with you. Love this spot for Milwaukee. You talked about Yelich. That was a big one for me, man. Getting him back. It's amazing, man. You get one bat back, and it can totally change the dynamics of your lineup. But Steve, and I know you play baseball, but I'm just talking to people that maybe haven't played. Even like the way guys approach their plate appearances when you know you got protection and guys that can get it totally changes things. One guy can do that. I think Christian Yelich does it. Love him. Love Perkins. Bauer should crack the lineup as well. I think we'll play him. I think Terang obviously been playing every day. He'll be playing it's a good spot all around for them, and hopefully these lefties can get to Lynn the way we want them to.
Yeah, and like Yelich being in the lineup is going to get Contreras better pitches because you don't want to walk Contreras to get like runners on base for Yelich. And like it's likely going to lead to more base runners for Adames, so he's going to get better pitches. So like it's a domino effect. All right, let's go to Coors. We got Texas at Colorado, 10.5 total in this game. Texas a 180 favorite. We got John Gray against Austin Gomber. Any interest here in John Gray?
Plenty, Stevie. 7,200. Like this is my guy today, for sure. Going back, a guy that knows Coors Field really well, this is where he had most of his career, early in career. So I think all those things combined, and the fact that he seems to be better. Stevie, I do think he was hurt a little bit last season. I think he's come back refreshed, improved at 7,200. He's actually my top play on the slate, Steve, for the price. For the price. Everybody, please hear me. For the price, I think John Gray's the best pitcher on the slate. And I'm glad people are starting to realize you don't have to be afraid of Coors Field with this bad lineup that Colorado's rolling out every day, Stevie. They bumped the pitchers down in price because of the stadium, and we just keep playing them. I mean, I didn't play, I think it was Wynn pitching today, or I can't remember who's pitching, but I took pretty much every shell. Yeah, I didn't take him today, but I took every other San Francisco pitcher on the slate, and they came out just fine. I think John Gray's going to be fine. He's much better than the pitcher that this Colorado team saw today. Love John Gray. All that to say at 7,200, he's one of my top options on the slate, hands down.
55 degrees is the projected temperature for the first pitch of this game. Coors, I mean, in a few weeks from now, we're going to see Coors in the 80s, and we're going to jump on this a lot more. I'm going to be less likely to play pitchers there, but it's still good pitching weather in Coors right now. It's not Florida weather right now. So again, overall, I have interest in John Gray. The one thing that worries me is he is going to be chalky today. For good reason. I don't think he's necessarily bad chalk, but John Gray can struggle with walks from time to time, especially against lefties. I think overall, I think that we could take some shots on John Gray. I hate the idea of him being chalk, but I think he's a good play today.
Yeah.
Texas has struggled against lefties this year. Any interest in Austin Gomber on the other side of this game?
Yeah, no Austin Gomber.
Listen, I'm not playing him either. I will say Texas lineup doesn't project well against left-handed pitching right now with some of the injuries. I think this is just one of those scenarios where you're just hey, it's Gomber. I'm going to stack him up. He really struggles against righties, so Semien, Garcia, Heim, Duran, Wenzel, all these guys I think are very much in play in this spot. I assume that Mr. Robbie Grossman is in the lineup today for Texas.
They just picked him up, I think, today or yesterday.
He has a lot more pop from the right side of the plate. So if he cracks the lineup today at 3,100, he has a lot more pop from hitting right-handed. He's a switch hitter. He's one of those guys that I wish wouldn't switch hit. But yeah, he just has so much more upside from that side of the plate. So I think Texas is in a great spot, and we're just going to play them regardless. What are your thoughts on Texas today?
Yeah, Stevie, I've kind of come anti-Coors a lot more this season than other seasons, and so I'm for sure going to play some Texas today, but just only because I don't think they're going to be incredibly high owned. So I'm in.
All right. Any interest in the Rockies here?
No.
So the only thing I'm going to point out about the Rockies in this spot is if John Gray does project for a lot of ownership, the game theory brain of mine says play some Rockies, get some exposure to them, because John Gray can struggle with walks. He does struggle with lefties. Blackman's a good lefty. McMahon's a good lefty. They just don't have a lot of other good lefties in this lineup. So if you do get those struggles, the upside is there. So like the game theory aspect of DFS baseball because of the variance, like I think you could get some Rockies today. I don't think the Rockies are good. I'll just say that. I don't think by any means they're a good offense. All right, Kansas City at LA taking on the Angels. Alec Marsh, Griffin Canning, 8.5 total. Slight favorite here for Kansas City. Alec Marsh coming off of the IL here through 53 pitches in his rehab start. I assume we see him throw probably 75 pitches here. Any interest here in Alec Marsh against the Angels?
Steve, if he was getting a normal workload, I actually may have considered him today, but I just don't think I can do it. I do think he's going to be limited a little. So I'm going to hold off. I'm not afraid of the Angels lineup, but I am going to just hold off one start and just kind of see how it goes for him.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Like, if we knew Alec Marsh was going to throw 95 pitches in this spot, I'd play him.
I'm in. I'd be in all the way.
There's no chance he only throwing 53 pitches in his rehab start. There's no chance this guy comes out and throws 100 pitches. So, and it was an elbow. It's like, it's not like he got hit with a line drive on the elbow. So like, they're going to be careful with him. He was pissed. I don't remember like who they were facing that day, but I was watching it for the Royals bats, and Alec Marsh was pissed. He got hit by that ball, and he was so mad that he had to get taken out of that game. I think they're playing Toronto. Any interest in Griffin Canning on the other side of this game?
Heavens no.
It finally looked decent last time out, but no chance. I've talked about it a lot this year. Griffin Canning really struggling to miss bats. I mean, he's eventually gonna potentially get it figured out, but like he's struggling big time right now. He doesn't have an out pitch, and Kansas City's too good not to have an out pitch against. So let's segue into the Kansas City bats. I love them today. I think this is a great spot for them, and you're shaking your head, so I'm guessing you're on board here at the Royals.
Yeah, and I think the slate's big enough, Stevie. So I don't think any teams are going to be over-owned, but I do think relative to the slate, I think Kansas City could be under-owned relative to where they should be, Stevie, because of Coors, because of the Braves, because of some of these other spots. Like, so I love them today. One of my top stacks of the day. Vinny P, man, just continuing to rate this season. Maxey, he's now priced up to 4K, don't care. Garcia typically leading off. Bobby Witt, the only guy that's really, heavily, the only real heavy spend. Everybody else is still really affordable. I'm in, man. Kansas City's been a good team to me, Stevie, DFS wise. Starting to feel like my end of the year stack when I get those statistics that tell me who I invested in more, what team. Kansas City's starting to feel like that team, and that's even over my Braves. That's saying a lot, Stevie. Love this team today for tournaments.
Yeah, Pasquantino has been scorching the baseball. He's just on one of those like heaters right now. He's hitting the ball really hard. So I really like him. They finally priced up Massey, but I don't know if it's enough for like how well he's hitting the ball if he stores up towards the top of the lineup. So yeah, I mean overall, yeah, just Kansas City, man. Like Kansas City and Milwaukee have been like my two guys. Like or two teams. Like they've just been those teams for me. Any interest here in the Angels bats against Marsh?
I just think the slate's too big, Stevie. If I don't mind taking shots on guys coming off the IL, perhaps they're struggling, but I just think the slate's too big. I don't think I need anyone from the Angels. I mean, half the team is hurt now. I'm done. I'm not playing this team.
Tucker, if he hits leadoff or second, he's 2,500. Willie, our boy Willie Calhoun is back in the majors. He's 2,700. He's 2,600, and he hit leadoff the other day against Martin Perez. I like him more from the right side of the plate than the left side of the plate, though he has more power from the right side of the plate. So I think The Angels just have some cheap bats. Like if you end up on like a one-off of these guys, I don't hate it. I wouldn't stack them. Like if anything, maybe a vomit mini stack. But like Adele is really cheap. The Angels are just really cheap because they haven't been good. So I think like potentially using some of these guys just in general as like cheap one-offs or cheap mini stacks, I think is okay. I think Alec Marsh is going to have a little rust. And again, I don't think Alec Marsh is going to pitch real deep into this game. And Kansas City's bullpen has been hit or miss. They're like middle of the road. They have a lot of good arms, but they have some guys that struggle from time to time too. Oakland at Seattle. We got a 7.5 total in this one. Seattle 142 favorite. Paul Blackburn. Brian Wu making his first start of the season in the majors. Any interest here in Paul Blackburn?
Tons, Stevie. And I do mean tons. And I'm not saying Blackburn is elite, so I don't want anybody to confuse that. I don't care that Seattle, Stevie, I looked at some numbers today against this team or for this team. And these K rates are just through the roof. Power numbers in the dumpster. Like I think Paul Blackburn at 7,500. I think even if he doesn't get all the strikeouts, Stevie, which I think he can get 4 or 5 today with ease. I just think he should be able to limit the power here, keep the ball in the yard, and probably go 6 innings and not get shelled here. I just at 7,500, he's in. We've been looking for guys that are less expensive to play. I think he fits the bill perfectly. Once again, I'm not saying he gets 10 strikeouts, but I think 4 or 5 and the ability to get through 6 fairly clean is in the cards. I like Blackburn today at 7,500.
It's hard not to like any right-handed pitcher against Seattle at all. I will say Paul Blackburn has shown a little bit of reverse splits this season. He's getting hit pretty hard by righties, and he's actually striking out lefties at a higher clip. So that is a little concerning because it's a very right-handed heavy offense. But at this point, like, who are we not playing against Seattle? Any interest in Wu making his season debut here?
No.
Yeah, I don't expect him to pitch deep. I think that's going to be the biggest problem here for Wu. Like he's super talented. For what it's worth. If we knew like he was going to throw 80 pitches here, and I think that is a really big stretch. If we get some kind of alert, right? Like if something comes out and they're like, hey, Wu is going to throw 80, anything over 80, I would play him for what it's worth. Like if we knew he was going to get 80 pitches, I would play him because Oakland's not a great offense against right-handed pitching. Brian Wu has a lot of talent. He strikes out righties at a huge clip. I think that it would be that kind of situation. Like, what are we looking at pitch count wise? But again, I don't expect him to do that. So I don't expect to play him here because I don't expect him to throw 80 pitches.
Yeah.
Question about Seattle pitching. They had 3 straight weeks with starters gave up 2 runs or fewer. They got blown up by Minnesota. Do whole pitching staffs go through a regression? No. Listen, Minnesota is a lot better team than a lot of people are giving them credit for. They have a lot of really solid hitters that are starting to hit the ball towards the top of that lineup. So, and I think Seattle has the best pitching staff in baseball, and I'm going to live by that. I think they had a bad series, and that's going to happen. And like, we don't talk about it enough, but like teams will pick up on stuff that pitchers and catchers are doing, and like we'll see teams hit pitchers better than others. So maybe they saw something. Any interest here in Wu or Oakland bats?
No, Wu like you talked about, just because just coming off the IL, I don't see it. Similar to the March situation, Steve. I don't think he goes deep. And then in terms of Oakland, I'm going to pass. I'm not playing the Oakland bats today.
Seattle bats?
I just can't. Like, I mean, I just can't. Like, they got the Stevie. Here's the thing. they have the names. Like they've got enough name value, but the production has been lacking. Rojas has been spectacular, but outside of that, what are we getting? We're not getting much.
Yeah. Just if there was ever a time Blackburn's not, I mean, he's a reverse splits pitcher. He's going to have ownership. If there was ever a time to stack Seattle, again, like game theory wise, sure. I don't think I could do it, but I don't play 150 lineups either. But like if I was playing 150, I could see myself getting some exposure to Seattle in the slate on the slate. Dodgers, Padres, 8 total. Dodgers are 168 favorite. Tyler Glasnow, Michael King. Any interest in Glasnow in this one? It's like yeah, I mean, he faced them. It was in Korea. It was a long time ago. Any interest in Tyler Glasnow?
I mean, I think running 150, Stevie, I have to play some because I mean he does just have tremendous upside.
He has been absolutely dominant recently.
Yeah, and it's like I don't like the matchup. San Diego, as gutless as they are, they're not striking out a ton. But man, I mean, Glasnow's the one guy on the slate that has legit 10 plus strikeout upside, like real strikeout upside, Stevie. I think I'm in at 10-9, especially like I said, play mass multi-entry. I have to get some shares.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal. Again, San Diego's gutless. They don't strike out, but Glasnow has strikeout stuff. Like he just absolutely mowed over your Braves. And like Toronto is a good comp to San Diego as far as strikeouts, and he just had 9 strikeouts against them, 10 strikeouts against the Mets. Like,
yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah, his stuff is just electric. Yeah, I'm definitely playing Glasnow. I do prefer Ranger Suarez. I think Ranger Suarez has a better matchup. Any interest here in Michael King?
No, not against the Dodgers, Steve, whose strikeout rates have started coming down with some of these substitutions. I can't do it.
Yeah, I can't play anybody. I can't play anybody against the Dodgers right now. Michael King struggles a lot more with left-handed bats. Ohtani, Freeman, Muncy, Lux, all these guys very much in play.
Lux starting to hit homers. Outman hitting homers now. Muncy hitting homers. Stevie, it's gonna be a tough team to see in warm weather if the ball's connected. Let me tell you,
Lux was a huge prospect. Like I don't think people understand like how big of a prospect Gavin Lux was. So I mean, I like the Dodgers. It's a day ending in Y. I mean, you're playing the Dodgers on almost every slate. It's just, you have to have exposure to this Dodgers team in this matchup.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Any interest in the Padres?
No.
All right, moving on. I don't have any interest in them either. Bill says, this is the longest morning grind ever. Nope. We have had much longer morning grind shows. It's always long when we have big slates like this.
Usually our Thursday, Fridays have been longer this week. Now because the Thursday games, their Thursday slates have been really short, and the Friday slates have been 12 to 13 games. So, yep, that's this season what it's looking like.
Oh, yeah. Cincinnati at San Francisco to finish this out, 7.5 total. San Francisco, a 162 favorite. We got Andrew Abbott going up against Logan Webb. Any interest here in Abbott?
I think Abbott at 6,700 gives me a little bit of intrigue, Stevie. I'm not thrilled about it. I'm not saying he's going to light the world on fire, but I think it's possible he could get us 15 points. He has not been great. So that's not what this is. That's not. I'm not trying to give a ringing endorsement here, but for the price, I think he's okay. That's all I'm saying.
I think he's okay too. I mean, you get Jung Ho Lee is banged up. Soler just got put on the IL. I mean, Soler's the guy you're worried about the most in this lineup against left-handed pitching. Chapman he's been good against left-handed pitching throughout his career, but like there's strikeouts in this lineup. They're going to have a little bit of Coors hangover here, going back to, sea level. Yeah. So I think he's a really solid option. If like he was 7,700, 8,500, we're not playing Andrew Abbott, but like, we don't have a lot of options that are cheap. I think he's another guy that can get you like 15 to 20 points on the slate.
Yep.
The only problem I worry about with like Andrew Abbott here, where some of these other guys were playing in this range, we think they're going to win. I think it might be a tough win for him today.
Oh yeah.
Logan Webb, other side of this game, he has been struggling quite a bit recently, and I looked at some of the numbers and tried to like figure out what I thought was the reason why. And I mean, again, like I'm not a scout or anything. I don't claim to be. I know pitching. I really haven't seen much in what's going on with Logan Webb. Do you have any interest in him in this spot?
I do at 8,500. Look, man, here's the thing. I think Logan Webb, for me, Stevie, I view him as a really good real life pitcher, but a guy that can get knocked around. And I do think he relies on BABIP a bit, right? And I'm not saying once again, I think he's a really good pitcher, so I don't want anybody to think he's living on BABIP. But I think his style of pitching, Stevie, he's not like a strikeout guy, but he's a guy that can eat through innings, get quick innings. And so when I see guys like that, for him, I feel like maybe he just had some bad BABIP that rolled his way those past couple games. Against Cincinnati, who is a fairly high strikeout team in spots. I think, and he's going to be in his home ballpark, really good ballpark. I think this is a good spot for him at 8,500. Hopefully he can get us 20 fantasy points, and I'll be feeling really good about it.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about this all the time with like younger teams, and Cincinnati is a really young, very, very talented team. They're a lot like they're free swingers, right? They're going to swing a lot. And like you get strikeouts from that. And like if you have a good changeup to kind of keep them off balance, which I mean, that's Logan Webb throws his changeup more than pretty much everybody in baseball. So like I could see Logan Webb having a good outing here. He has been struggling, but like I said, like I looked and I really couldn't find anything that suggests like bad stuff as far as that. Like he had a 385 BABIP against Philadelphia. He had a 600 BABIP against Boston. I mean, everything they put in play, basically, yeah. So
it's just BABIP. I think,
I think he just got BABIP in the Boston start, and I think he just got hit hard in Philly. Like, I mean, that's a really negative ballpark downgrade for him. That's a good lineup. He had a tough spot. So yeah, I think Webb gets back on track here, and I like the price tag. Cincinnati bats. I love stacking Cincinnati. I think they're a really fun stack. Probably going to pass on them today. I don't necessarily love this spot for them today.
Yep, same, man. This is one of those spots where they're going to sit on the shelf for me as well.
Alan says, is the hangover for Coors a real thing? Listen, so the ball breaks differently at altitude. So like Coors is the highest altitude baseball park in baseball. And well, I mean, Mexico City is way higher. That's why the ball just flies. But like, so when they're at Coors, you're adjusting like how the rotation of the baseball looks, and like you're adjusting to that. And then when you go back to sea level, you got to readjust again. And like pitchers talk about it, and like how hard it is for pitchers, because like you don't get the movement that you're expecting on fastballs or curveballs or anything that breaks like downward. You don't get the same movement. So yeah, I mean, I'm not a scientist, and I don't know if there's actual like real data, but in my head, there's always a Coors hangover.
I think there is, Steve, because I think teams typically have struggles first game in and then first game back home. I think those are like the two bookend type deals. First game in the Coors, first game back. And not saying that teams can't score. Don't get us wrong, but they do have an adjustment that they have to deal with.
I know teams that like play the day before Coors and they travel to Coors and they don't get BP and stuff. I know they struggle a lot. So for what it's worth. Any interest in the Giants bats in this one?
Yeah, man, real interesting start here. You talked about Chapman at 4,700. I think I'm still in, but I think this is more of a one-off team for me today. Wilmer Flores, 4,400, has come up, man. This is still kind of Coors pricing to me. I want my $3,800 Wilmer Flores back, not 4,400. But I still think, just in terms of one-offs, those guys are okay.
Yeah. Hey, listen, hangovers from a case of Coors, definitely a real thing. I feel you on that. But overall, yeah, I mean, like Tom Murphy is another guy that like we love playing against lefties. He's hurt. Solaire's hurt. Like they're just missing some of those right-handed bats that we like. I think, like you said,
Yep.
Flores, but like I just don't see myself using Flores at 4,400 as a one-off. I just don't see myself getting there. But he's a good hitter against left-handed pitching. I think even Derek Carty would call him a lefty masher. Oh, Carty. All right, let's play the morning grind game and get out of here. We're at 120 minutes. What was that? 120, 80 minutes. All right. All right. Under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts here. Who do you got? And I didn't burp. My water went down the wrong pipe, and I was struggling there.
Yeah, all good. Stevie, I think I'm going to go. Stevie, I think I'm going to go with an off the board play. This team's just straightening out too much. Give me Paul Blackburn, man.
I was about to be so mad at you. I was about to be so mad if you said Robert Gasser. You're like, I'm going to go off the board. And I was sitting there going, if he takes my guy, I might kick him out of the live stream. I literally thought that. Give me Gasser here. Because give me Gasser. I'm hoping for that guy.
I thought Gray would be the obvious play, so that's why I went Irvin.
Yeah. Over 8K to get under 15 fantasy points, to score under 15 fantasy points.
Yeah, I think we got a couple options today. We're probably going to land on the same guy for the same reason. Give me Lance Lynn at 8,700.
Yeah, that's who I had written down. I think it's a really tough spot for Lance Lynn. He is I like every pitcher over 8K besides Lance Lynn today. So it's really tough. This question's really hard for me. I will say Logan Webb. I think Logan Webb gets back on track here today overall. Garrett Crochet, like those are the two guys that I think are like, but over 4K to hit a home run, not in cores. Who do you got going yard today?
I talked about it in a slightly tougher ballpark, Stevie, but I can't express enough how much I love lefty here. Give me Matt Olson going home. Give me Matt Olson, or going to my hometown team rather. Give me Matt Olson at 5,400 against Jose Quintana.
Yeah, I'm captain of the Pay Down at Catcher club. It's a real club. We meet 3 times a week. But I'm also like turning into captain of Pay Up at Shortstop. I think Gunnar Henderson goes yard today. Way back, first game we talked about against Brandon Fayette. Gunnar Henderson just having a phenomenal start to the year, and I think he's going to go yard today. Under 4K to get 2 hits, a lot of options today. Who do you got?
Stevie, going to our cheap team, going to the White Sox. Give me Tommy Pham at 3,800.
Yeah, don't mind that. I'm going to go to a guy that's hitting the ball hard and not getting a lot of results. Give me MJ Melendez from Kansas City against Canning. Canning's just not missing bats. Good potential contact spot for a guy that's making a lot of hard contact. Generating a lot of hard contact. Stack to score 6 or more runs.
I'm going with my sneaky team on a 12-game slate. I think they just won't get enough ownership. You just talked about Melendez. Give me the Kansas City Royals versus Canning. I mean, I like them today a ton. Been playing them all year. No need to stop now.
I'd have to get up to get my Brewers hat, so I don't want to get up and do that. But give me the Brew Crew here. They got a Nashville Sounds pitcher. I missed an opportunity to wear my Brewers hat today. Nashville Sounds pitcher making his debut. Brewers bats against Lance Lynn. He struggles so much with lefties. They have so many good bats in this lineup. And they steal bases. They get into run like scoring position. Just really like them. Any pick and plays or player props that you like on this slate?
Ooh, Stevie, why was I not prepared for this?
Happens to the best of us.
Right off the top of my head, I'm not sure where Paul Blackburn's K prop is. It should be 4.5. I'm going to assume they might give him the bump to 5.5 today.
It's not up yet.
Yeah, if it's 4.5, Give me the over there. If we get, I think Ranger Suarez is probably going to come in at 5.5. I hope it's not 6.5. I'll
It's
take
5.5.
there.
That's my bet. Ranger Suarez
Yeah.
over 5.5. It's plus money on Bet365, BetMGM, and
Like
DraftKings right now. 5.5 for a guy that has at least 6 strikeouts in 4 of his last 5, getting a matchup with the Marlins.
Yep, love that. I'm in.
I talked about why his strikeout rate is up and everything when we broke that game down. Any lines, money lines against spread, anything over unders pop into you here?
Let's see. I want to see what I'm getting on this. I'm assuming. Oh man! Oh baby, Stevie, bro, we can get the Royals for minus 116 on FanDuel right now against Canny. Oh, that's tasty. It's 125 everywhere else. Minus 125, minus 116 on FanDuel. I think that's a good spot to attack, man. I'm expecting the Royals to really not punish Canny, but knock him around.
Already bet this. I'm on the same page as Will. That's what I had written down. Kansas City money line, and I got it at minus 120 on the Hard Rock app. So,
yeah,
I'm with you. I mean, that's what I wrote down. So, I don't understand this line. I get like Alex Marsh coming back, but like, yeah, everything points to the Royals side of this game. So, I'm with it. Any final thoughts before we ship it off to the weekend?
Nah, man. Thanks everyone for hanging out with us. I know our Friday pods are going to be a little longer, but as Stevie noticed, I was yawning a lot before this podcast, but the yawning definitely cut down as we got into the thick of things and got a chance to break the slate down. I had a ton of fun. Thank you for having me yet again, Stevie.
I'll say this too, right? Like, I've listened to the feedback from everybody that like is in chat, that's talks to me on Discord, that tweets me. And all the feedback is you guys would prefer a 90-minute podcast compared to, we could break this slate down in 45 minutes really fast. We could go through this slate super fast. But everybody and all the feedback that I've gotten is, hey, we want you to break down this slate. Like, fast forward to the game. I go in order of DraftKings every single slate, so you can look at DraftKings and go to the game you want. So I'm listening to the feedback. You guys give me feedback. I listen to it as much as I can. And I mean, that's what we try to do here on the Morning Grind. Appreciate everyone for hanging out. Leave us a comment on the video. Tell us who you like to win on this slate. And we're going to get out of here. I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. To all of the mothers out there, we'll definitely say it on Sunday night's podcast for Monday slate as well, but happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I know there's a lot of them listening to us here each and every day. So appreciate everyone. I can't tell you how important my wife is to me and our kids. So happy Mother's Day. I know Will, your lady over there, Geraldine's just fantastic as well. So hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. Enjoy Mother's Day. We're back Monday. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you then.